Hello! Welcome back to Creative Adventures. So today we're starting on a fun project. This is a cookie order going to a little girl for her 10th birthday. I'm super excited about this. Her mom gave me a little bit of inspiration, told me about some of the things that she likes. Number one of those being softball. She said she really loves the color turquoise and no pink, which, my kind of girl. So let me show you what I've already done. Anytime I'm working on a cookie order, I typically, before I even bake my cookies, try to sketch out my designs just on a sketch pad. So I kind of pick out, I have an idea in my head, and then I kind of pick out what cookie cutters I think would work for each cookie and trace them out on my paper, and then just kind of sketch in what my design's gonna be. And as you can probably see here and here, I hope you can see that anyway, I do kind of mark out what my different colors are gonna be. That way I have kind of a list of, what I'm gonna need, because I do like to mix my colors up all at once. So I've got my design sketched, and as you can see, I've got some icing already sitting over here in bags. I also already have my cookies baked. I did these last night, so they've been sitting out probably about 16 hours or so, because it's about noon the next day. So in the interest of saving time for the video, I decided to go ahead and bake my cookies ahead of time and have them ready to go. I also went ahead and mixed up all of my icing colors, and I'm really loving the color scheme that we're going to use today. Like I said, she said that turquoise is her favorite color, so I've got 2 shades of turquoise. I've got a bunch of white because that's going to be the base of most of my cookies. I've got some bright yellow, and I've got like a corally color, a corally leaning towards orange color. I'm loving this color scheme. I know this probably looks a little strange. I do have my icing in plastic wrap. I do that so that I can save my piping bags. So I use these smaller Wilton bags for piping cookies. They're already fitted with a coupler, and they are disposable bags, but I have found that if I put my icing in plastic wrap, it allows me to save these bags for longer, so I can reuse them several times before they just get worn out enough that I need to throw them away. So saves me some time, saves me some money. Let me talk a little bit about icing consistencies, because this is not my only icing. I also have some squeeze bottles over here of some of the colors. Well, all of the colors except for the coral. So I've got a big bottle of white, some of the yellow, and then both of the turquoise shades. So they are the exact same batches of icing, they are just different consistencies. This icing in the bags is a piping consistency. It's quite a bit thicker, so it will really hold its shape whenever you pipe it out. I use this to outline the areas that I'm going to fill in, but I also use it to pipe details on the top. This icing is kind of the consistency of shampoo. It is a very, very runny icing. So when I outline my cookies with my piping, I can actually use this to flood in the area that I want to be colored, and this is what creates that really nice, smooth, glossy look on top of sugar cookies. So consistency is key for decorating cookies. Now, like I said, I baked my cookies and made my icing ahead of time in the interest of saving time for the video. But let me know in the comments below if you would like to see a video in the future on either of those things, and I can show you how it's done. I will, in this video, leave a link below to the recipes that I'm using for my icing and my cookies. Alright, I've moved my sketchbook out of the way, and we're going to go ahead and get our piping icing into the bags. And as I said before, I've already fitted these bags with a small coupler in case I need to change tips in between. And I've also got a pile of rubber bands over here, and the caps for the couplers and tips. I primarily use Wilton No. 2 tips for all of my cookie piping. A lot of people prefer the PME 1.5 tip for cookie piping, but I've never had any problems with this one. And these are not the only tips I use, but these are the ones I use primarily for outlining and for piping small details on my cookies. Alright, so to get my piping into my bags, I literally just twist my plastic wrap and I slide one end of it straight through the tip, pull on it just until I see icing come out the end, so you can just barely see that the icing's showing right there. And then we're going to grab a pair of scissors and just snip off the end of that bag. Put our tip on, screw on the cap, we're going to twist the end of the bag, and then these actually are Wilton bands. They are actually meant for holding piping bags. You don't have to use these. You can use a zip tie, you can use a regular rubber band, you can just hold it if you want to, but they are really handy. They just wrap right around and hold your icing down in place. So that's ready to go. Now another tip. This is how I keep my icing on my desk and keep my tip from drying out. This is just a regular glass from my pantry, and I have a wadded up damp paper towel in the bottom of the glass. And when I'm not using a particular color, I just set that right in the glass, and that damp paper towel keeps the end of my icing tip, or keeps the end of my tip from drying out and getting clogged up. Royal icing dries quick and it dries very, very hard. So if it dries in your tip, you're gonna have a problem. So I'm gonna speed through this and go ahead and get the rest of these in the bags. So there's all the icing I'll be using for this order. Let me talk about what colors I used to make each one. For the turquoise, I used mostly sky blue with a tiny bit of lemon yellow, which I think I've mentioned in a previous video. I primarily use Americolor colors. They're the gel paste colors. This is the sky blue, this is the lemon yellow. So it was several drops of the blue and 1 or 2 drops of the yellow. And they're the exact same shade, one just has more of the white icing in it to make it a little lighter. For the kind of corally apricot-y orange color here, I used mostly lemon yellow and a little bit of orange and a little bit of red to make this one. So I used, the lemon yellow, egg yellow, I'm sorry, not egg yellow, orange. I think I ended up putting a little bit of egg yellow in it just because egg yellow is a little bit warmer. And then a tiny bit of super red, just a tiny, tiny bit of that. So those were the 3 colors that made up that really pretty orange color, and it was mostly yellow. And then finally, for the actual yellow, it was just lemon yellow. Just a little bit of lemon yellow, and that's it. And for the white icing, that's literally just icing. There's no color in that at all. Royal icing is super easy, and it's literally just 3 ingredients if you're not counting your flavoring. It is sugar, meringue powder, and water, and that's it. So other tools I will probably be using today. First, I used my Cricut electronic cutter to cut out some templates for a couple of the cookies, because this is the girl's first initial is I. And then she's turning 10 years old, and I want it to be kind of in a varsity font, so that's what this font is. And I just cut it out of regular cardstock so that I can then use a food coloring marker, which this is an Americolor marker, an Americolor Gourmet Writer, and this one's in yellow so it won't show up underneath any icing or anything like that. But I'll just use the food coloring marker to mark right on the cookie to outline my letters. And then one of them is a baseball bat, so I'll do the same thing with this. That just helps me get it consistent every single time, and it's a lot cheaper for me to cut it out of cardstock than it is to go buy a projector, so that's what those are for. And this is a scribe tool. This is actually just like a modeling or a clay work tool, but I use it for kind of spreading very, very thin royal icing around and popping air bubbles and all kinds of things. I just prefer this over using toothpicks. Alright, I'm going to start with the easiest cookie first. This is just a round cookie. This is a standard sugar cookie with a slight almond flavor, and this is a chocolate rollout cookie. Start with the easiest design first, softballs. So softballs are yellow, so that's why I've intentionally tried to get yellow in my color palette. So this is a super easy design because the whole cookie is going to be filled and flooded in with yellow, and then after that dries, we'll come back with another color and pipe the seams on. So this is a really good basic design to start with. So you're going to take your piping consistency icing, and squeezing with one hand and using your other hand to stabilize it and guide it around, you're going to try to go around the cookie and outline the whole thing with one solid line. So here we go. And you kind of don't want your tip touching the actual cookie. You're kind of maybe like a ½ inch above the cookie and letting your line fall onto it. And then where they meet, you're just gonna stop that. So I'm gonna go ahead and flood this cookie, and then I'll fast forward through the rest of them. So let's shake our flood icing down to the tip. And you can see this is a much thinner consistency. You just want to fill in the whole cookie and kind of use the tip of your squeeze bottle to push it around to that edge and fill in the entire cookie. And that's it. Now these are just standard old generic condiment bottles that you can get pretty much anywhere, online, at the grocery store, wherever. So I'm going to give that a little bit of a shake and a little tap on the table, and as you can see, that just smoothed right out. Now we're just going to let this sit over to the side. That needs to dry completely before we do any kind of piping on top. So I'm going to fast forward through working on the rest of these. Alright, I've moved my softball cookies off to the side to dry, and I'm going to do the same thing with these cookies, except I'm going to flood the entire base with white. So this cookie shape is going to have her name across it, and that'll just be piped on top, and then this cookie shape is actually going to say happy birthday. So the base of these are completely white, so I will fast forward through that process as well. Cookies are all going to have a design that I stencil onto them first, so I can pipe them and make sure they're all, you know, exactly the same size and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and transfer this cutout onto each of my cookies, and I hope that this color is going to show up on my chocolate ones. If it doesn't, I may have to go get a different color food writer. So there you have it. That's how easy it is to use. I hope you can see that. See if it's focusing. There we go. It's a very faint image, but it allows me to, you know, pipe along this line to make sure my bats look the same on every one of these little long cookies. And I'm going to do the same thing with the numbers and the initial for the other cookies. So I'll fast forward through all of this because it will get a little bit repetitive. All of my designs stenciled on. Now we can start flooding the base of these cookies. The reason we do the stencils first is because these won't be solid color floods. So the center part will be flooded with one color and then the outside will be flooded with a different one. So I wanted to make sure I got my design on there beforehand so we can just kind of follow along the lines. Alright, let's get started on that. Alright, let's start with the bats. I'm actually going to do the inside of the bat with 3 different colors. It's going to be dark turquoise, light turquoise, and also yellow. And then the base of the cookie around the bat is going to be white. But we're going to have to pipe this in sections. So sometimes when you see royal icing covered cookies, it looks like it almost has texture, like the different colors are separated so well it looks like it has texture. We're going to do something similar. I'm going to pipe, let's see, I don't really want my two sections of the bat head to have texture, so I might actually go ahead and pipe those all as one and let them run together. But then for the handle, I'm definitely going to do that separate. And then once that part sets up, which will take about 30 minutes, then we'll go back and do the white part on the background. So, yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Sometimes I kind of figure this stuff out as I go. So I do have some extra cookies that I can practice on just to make sure I like how that looks, which I always try to do, and then adjust as I go. So let me get started on this one, and then we'll fast forward through the rest of them if we decide that we like it. So I'm going to outline the whole bat in dark turquoise. Hi, honey. And I think I'm going to add kind of a divider line right here. So this part's going to be my handle. And then I kind of want, let's see. Actually, I'm going to put a little tiny divider right here too. And then I'm going to do kind of a diagonal line down the bat because I want the end of the bat to be two-toned. So, that's what we've got right now. So I think what I want to do is, I'm going to fill in, first I'm going to fill in, and I think that's going to be just a little bit too big of a tip. So I'm just going to use my piping tip for this, even though it's not what I really intended. But I'm going to fill in the end with yellow. And then I'm going to do this end first, I think. So I think I want to do, this part is going to be dark turquoise. And then I'm going to do light turquoise and yellow in the end. So, I can get my light turquoise flood icing. Shake that down. And fill in this section. And this is when the little scribe tool comes in real handy, because I can use it to kind of stretch that icing down into the tip right there. And then I kind of do want these colors to run together a little bit, so I'm going to take my yellow and squeeze that in the other half. And again, without actually mixing the two, I'm just going to use my scribe tool to try to drag that color down into the point where I want it. Oh yeah, that looks really cool. So there's what the end of my bat looks like. And then, let me spread this out just a little bit. And then once this sets up, we'll fill in the gap with dark turquoise. But we want to wait until it sets up because it'll create definition in between this part and this part. So let's set that to the side while we do our other bats. gonna go ahead and move on to piping my eyes. So I've already started one of them. I'm gonna do the letter in dark turquoise, and then once that sets up, we'll do the background and it will be a white base, but then I'm gonna drop some of the liquidy turquoise, light turquoise in to make polka dots on the background. So, but this part has to, the letter has to set up first, so let's get those piped. Okay, last ones. Now we're gonna move on to the number 10s. This is for her age. She's turning 10 years old. I'm gonna do these in light turquoise, and then the back is going to be white, and then we'll have some coral and yellow piping around the outside. But the numbers themselves will be light turquoise, so let's get those done. Okay, there we go. I've got my bats done, and my eyes are piped, and my number 10s are piped. So next thing, I think these should be set up just enough that we can go ahead and fill in the handles of the bat with the turquoise. So let's do that now. Alright, now that we got the bats set up and all of our letters are piped, these need to completely set for at least half an hour before we start piping the backgrounds, because we really want there to be definition between the centerpieces and the background. So I'll take a quick break. I've got some errands to run this afternoon anyway, so that works out. So we'll come back later today and pipe those backgrounds on. Alright, so it's been about 45 minutes. These have set up well enough that I can go ahead and outline and flood the backgrounds. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Just like piping the inside designs and piping the other big ones, we're just going to go around the outside of the cookie with our piping consistency frosting. And this will be our outside outline to hold all of the icing in, and then we'll just use the outline of the bat to hold the inside, to be the inside outline. Alright, here we go. Notice I'm not going all the way into those tiny little areas. I'm going to use my scribe tool to fill in around there here in a minute. But I am going right up to the edge of that bat. Alright. Use the scribe tool and push that icing just where we want it. Perfecto. Got a couple little bubbles to pop. All right. See if I can pick this up without sticking my finger in it, so I can show you closer what it looks like. And as you can see, like where the yellow and light turquoise meet, those two colors just kind of blend together because that was wet against wet. We have a little bit of dimension between the bat and the background with this one though, because we let the bat set up a little bit before putting the white background on. And I think I might have overfilled this one just a tad, so on the next ones I probably won't fill my white up as much, but I still think it's a really cool effect because it looks like the bat's just kind of sunk down in this cloud of icing. Alright, let's move on. Alright, now we're going to do the same thing for the eyes, except for this application we're actually going to use some of the light turquoise and drop it in as polka dots on the background. So first things first, we're going to pipe a white outline around the cookie. And then flood the cookie with the thin white icing. I'm gonna have to make it some more white, I think. I have more than enough white piping, so what I'll probably do is just go thin some of that down for flood icing. What's the matter with you, dog? Yeah, I've got it blocked off because you're not supposed to be in there. So sorry. So sorry. It's the end of the world. I know. I'm so sorry. Oh boy, I definitely overfilled this one because it's super full and I still gotta put my polka dots in. It's okay, we'll make it work. I think what I'll end up doing is once everything's completely dry, I'll go back and pipe an over outline on the letters and numbers to better define them. Alright. That dog is not happy. So this technique is called the wet on wet technique. And it is exactly how it sounds. You're dropping wet icing into wet icing. So that's what that looks like at this stage. Hope you can see that. Alright, so finally we've got the number 10s, and I'm just going to flood the background of these in white and call it a day because we're going to do some really pretty piping and in other colors around the edge. So we'll flood these and let them sit. Alright, there are our number 10s. So I'm going to let these sit overnight completely, and we'll pick them up tomorrow and add the piping details. Hey guys, we're back. It's the next day and we're ready to finish decorating these cookies. All we have to do now is actually put the last of the piping details on. Go back and over pipe these numbers and letters and around the baseball bats. And then for the pieces that we did that are just flat coated, we need to add the text and script and the outlines around the outside. So I wanted to show you up close what this kind of icing looks like when it's all done. It's perfectly flat and smooth and shiny. It's almost a little bit shimmery from the sugar, and it's hard, like hard as a rock. This makes these kind of cookies ideal for shipping, or they will last for about 3 weeks if you package them properly too. They're just really sturdy. The cookies themselves don't break easily either, so they're just a good sturdy cookie. Okay, so I think for the baseball bats, I'm just going to outline the entire bat in the dark turquoise, just like I did originally, just to overpipe it, and then I'm not going to outline in between the yellow and blue here, but I think I am going to add a couple of, maybe a white detail down that line. We'll see. Let me try it out on one and see what I think. And there we have it. That's a finished cookie. Alright, I'll speed up through the next few. Alright, we're just going to move on down the line. So for the letter I's with polka dots, I'm going to outline the letter in the middle to make it stand out more, and then I think I'm just going to do a simple pearl border around the outer edge, alternating with coral and, or I should say apricot and yellow. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Alright, moving on to the tins. I'm going to do the same thing with the numbers and just overpipe the outline. But for the edge of this one, I'm going to do some little swirly lines around here and do some flourishes on the sides. And then I'll do the same thing as I did with the eyes and alternate between coral and yellow for the outlines. Alright, half of the cookies are completely finished. Now we are moving on to our blank slates. And I think I'm going to start with the softballs because they're the easiest. All we got to do is add the coral seams. So it's just kind of like drawing 2 half circles. Start on one side. Start on the other side. And then the seams are just like arrows, and they change directions from side to side. So I'll do them kind of like this direction this way, and that direction the other way, and then we'll just finish that all the way down. And that's it for softballs. They are super easy. Alright, so we will speed through the remaining 5 of those and then move on to writing text. So for this shape, I'm going to be writing the girl's name. Well, her nickname is Izzy. I think I'm going to sketch it first with this yellow marker to make sure I get the name on there exactly the way I want. And then I'll go over that with the piping. I may not do that on all of them, but I'm definitely going to try it first on this first cookie. Gosh, I almost like how that looks even without piping over it. Let's see, let me... Let's see. There we go. Now I just got to decide if I like it better written with the marker or piped, because they both look super cute. I do think I like it piped though, so let's go ahead and do that. Alright, now that I got those names on, I'm going to do the same flourish on these that I did on the number 10s. So for these I'm going to be doing Happy Birthday in coral, and I'm going to do the outside edge in the light turquoise for all of them. That way I can keep it consistent. So that's what these will be. So for this one, I think my piping tip's a little too big, so I'm going to go swap out for a much smaller one. That's the difference between a number 2 and a number 1 piping tip. This is the number 2 and this is a number 1. It's a little bit smaller, and obviously the letters are not running together as much. So that's the one we're going to go with for the rest of these cookies. Alright, we've got our entire cookie set done. Now I just need to let them dry completely overnight, and then tomorrow I can package them up. I probably won't show all of that part, but I will post at the very end of this video some of the final pictures of the set once they're all ready to go in the box to be delivered. So I hope this has been informative. If there's anything you have questions about my techniques, just pop them down in the comments below and I'll answer those. And if you have any suggestions for future videos, such as making the cookies themselves or making royal icing, or how I color and thin my royal icing, let me know that in the comments below, and I'll get videos of that stuff up in the future. So if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks!